Welcome back everybody, this is part 2 of our top line series. Today you're going to meet Stitch. Hopefully you've had a look at your horses from our last video and you're starting to get an idea of the type of top lines that you're actually looking at. So we're going to go off and we're going to have a look at Stitch today and see if we can learn a little bit more about top lines, how to match our trees to maximise our horse. It's a different horse entirely. Stitch here is a very typical thoroughbred. He's a little bit older, he's 14. And if we have a good look at his top line, you'll actually find he's like most thoroughbreds. He actually slopes downwards into the back of his wither. So this has led to a few problems. He's also got a fairly sharp high wither, and you can see that he's actually got some muscle wastage here. On the other side of him we do actually see some white hairs as well, so he's had some old saddle damage. Now he's a fairly typical thoroughbred as far as this goes. He's been used for jumping. He's lost a lot of his muscle on his top line, but more importantly he's lost a lot of weight here, or a lot of muscle in this area here. He's just been a show jumper, and because of this sloping down, he's obviously had a lot of pressure in this area, and because he's been a show jumper, having a show jumping saddle on him and actually being up in a 2 or 3 point, this kind of muscle wastage and this extra pressure has been exacerbated by that. So we can often see quite a lot of damage in this area on horses with Stitch's kind of shape if he's been used predominantly in jumping saddles. So it's very important that we actually get this shape in the saddle correct for him. We'll pop a couple of different trees on him and we'll have. You'll actually notice at the beginning that the balance point looks okay. It's in the centre of the saddle. However, there's a really major problem. As we know, he's got a very high wither. And when we go through and put our fingers in, there's not enough clearance here at all. The gullet is actually too wide for him, but also the tree is too wide. This is quite a wide, flat tree, and this horse is more of an A-frame shape. So there's no support on either side to actually keep the saddle up clear of his wither. But I thought I'd show you this one, because this one has a narrower tree. It also has quite A-frame shape down through here, and people would often think that this is a fairly good saddle for a thoroughbred because it's fairly narrow. When we pop it on, if I put my hand under here, we'll actually find a bridge. So that means that there's a gap in under this area. The tree is actually too straight for him. Because of his shape going like this, running downhill and up, he actually does have a little bit of a curve or a bit of a shape to his back. And this tree is quite straight. So now we've got it touching at the back and the front, but a big gap in the middle. Apart from that, because it's quite narrow through the tree and he's got quite a high wither, it is actually locking on either edge of his wither. That means he's never going to be actually able to develop any muscle there. It's just locking straight down onto the edges of the vertebra, and that can do quite a lot of damage to him. It's still an area of pressure that we have to watch. So this is actually Stitch's saddle. We know that the gullet angle is actually suiting the horse because we've measured it. He does actually wear a little bit of a pad under this, which enables us to fill in those hollows, so we have a little bit more even pressure throughout the whole of the tree and throughout underneath the side of the panel. When we feel down through here, we've got even pressure on either side of his wither, as well as even pressure down through the front. When we pop our hand underneath, and it's a good idea to hold the bottom of the panel, bottom of the flat, or you can put a hand up here when you're running your hand under so you don't push the saddle over. We pop our hand under, and my hand's about here. We can feel from the front all the way through to the back, and I've actually felt even pressure all the way along. This is really, really important. And when we have a look at the balance point is actually correct for this horse and the shape of his wither. It will enable the rider to actually jump in the saddle quite effectively. If we look from behind, because Stitch is A-frame, When we have a little look at the panel shape, these panels are actually quite A-frame as well. So we'll actually find that we've got even contact from the inside edges through to the outside. Back to our flutter tree again. I mentioned to you not only was it too wide in the gullet, but it was too wide and flat here. You can actually see the difference. These panels are quite flat and broad. So when we put this on a horse that's A-frame in shape, we get too much pressure on the inside edge and not enough pressure on the outside edge. So it's very important that our panels sit flat and flush with our horse's back. Finally, do yourself a final check. Pop your hand underneath the panel, run your hand all the way along, and make sure you have even pressure. We looked in the last video how to actually check your gullet width. Make sure that the gullet width is actually matching the horse to the saddle. And then finally get your hand down the channel and have a little feel down on the inside edges of his wither. Make sure that there's no extra pressure here and no extra pressure underneath the stirrup bar. So I hope that's been helpful for you. Have a really good look at the tree shape, and hopefully that'll get you one step closer to getting the best saddle fit for your horse and maximising your performance. You have a lot of fun. I'll see you next time.